Well, hey now. Welcome to Fitz's Electric Bar. Been doing some interviews lately and hope you enjoy them. Tim with Noisy Records and a friend of mine, Rick, as well. I've got some more with Rick coming up, but I wanted to take a little bit of a pause and just kind of go back to the records. And this particular episode or segment is really about music that I like to play. Mostly it has to do with music that I like to play really loud. And so the conceit of this segment is I need to make sure everyone's out of the house. Don't want to scare any animals. Actually, we don't have any animals right now, but don't want to scare the dogs and the cats. And most importantly, I don't want to scare my wife or have her unhappy. I have to preface it by saying she's amazing. Like, I play music all the time. I play at a decent volume and she's not one to complain. She usually just kind of disappears if it's too much for her. But these are selections that, not surprisingly, that I feel that these are songs that need to be played really loud, mostly. Sometimes there's something about these songs that sometimes makes me want to scream in a good way. And of course, that can scare the neighbors. I'm reminded of a little story that when I was in high school and I had a friend over and we were playing music really, really loud. And there was a bit of drinking involved, and my cousin slipped and fell and hit his head in the bathroom floor, and we had to call the ambulance. And the next day I went over to apologize to the neighbors for all of the noise. And their comment was, well, it was very loud, but what we were really worried about was all the screaming above the music. So let's start off with a few singles. So this one is actually extremely melodic, and it is a cover of the song Superman and R.E.M. There is a Toronto band called Skydiggers, big fan of theirs for many, many years. And they used to play Superman as well back in the old days in the Cabana Room. But Superman came out on, of course, the R.E.M. was on the IRS label. But this song has just got the most fantastic harmonies. I am Superman, gotta play it loud. Mentioned this on my channel a few times, and it's worthy of repeating because it is, to me, maybe the best EP I own in my collection. The Stranglers, I play both sides of this very, very loud. What a killer 4-song EP. Something Better Change, Straighten Out, Get a Grip on Yourself, and Hanging Around. In particular, Hanging Around. I can remember playing that song so often, and the beginning, it's the build-up, the tension, right, with the keyboards coming in, and then just the roughness of Cornwell's guitar and his vocals, and of course, always Jean-Jacques Brunel's bass. But any one of these four, but Hanging Around would always be played at 11 in the Fitzgerald household. This one has also a memory from the past, and this would be The Clash, Know Your Rights. I remember when this single and the album from which it came, Combat Rock, came out, and it was right before The Clash were doing a tour, and they were coming through Canada. I have my friend Mark down in the basement, aka Veg Gardens, and we played this very, very loud. The ringing intro with the guitar, Know Your Rights, all three of them. Fantastic. And The Future Is Unwritten became kind of a moniker, and I believe a documentary that was done on Strummer. But this is a great one that needs to be played really loud. John Digital Gramophone put the instrumental part of this song in a backdrop to an interview he did with 6-inch Pianist. And it is from Minneapolis' own Husker Du, Makes No Sense at All, the A-side. The B-side on this, Love Is All Around, the Mary Tyler Moore theme song, also a fantastic rendition, but Makes No Sense at All, a very typical kind of later career, or, towards the end of Husker Du's career. Wonderful layered guitar, super melodic, and I think this might have been a shot over the bow by Bob Mould over to Grant Hart, and they were having some difficulties, in part because I think Grant Hart's heroin use, but I'm already way over the deep end in terms of my level of knowledge, so time to pull back. Oi bands, I didn't have a huge collection of Oi bands in my, well, huge selection of Oi bands in my collection, but I love Sham 69 and another one, Jimmy Percy, and I believe, no, Jimmy Percy was Sham 69, Angelic Upstarts, Teenage Warning. That was a real good one that I would play very, very loud. Can't say that I'm oing my way through life at this stage, but happy memories. And when everybody's out, it's time to put this stuff on. Another Clash one. This isn't their most punk. I think this is one of their greatest, and they've got a few kind of amalgamation of reggae roots and punk. And the message is outstanding, and that would be the Clash, White Man in Hammersmith Palais. Great label on that. Don't know why there wasn't a picture sleeve on this, a British import of this. But White Man in Hammersmith Palais, again, just a fantastic one to just crank up. When I think about Strummer, he sings one of the verses here where his voice is cracking, not the first time that he's done that. But I think about things like another track would be Brand New Cadillac, when he goes, drive my baby, and he's just screaming, my baby drove up in a new Cadillac. And it's just on the edge of completely breaking down. One of the great things about not just punk, but also the Clash and Strummer and his plaintive vocalizing, which was awesome. White Man in Hammersmith Palais. Play it loud, all caps. This one has one of the greatest backstories, I think, and that is that John Peel, famously of the BBC, when he heard this single, he loved it so much that he just at the end of the single, he put it back on for a second time and played it again. Now, this is on the BBC, so that kind of behavior is often going to get you into some trouble, but not John Peel. He had the respect of his audience for sure. And of course, those of you who know the story would know the track I'm talking about, and that is Teenage Kicks from Undertones. Saw these guys open up for the Ramones. Sorry, for the Clash, actually. The tour the Clash did just before London Calling came out. I think it was the fall of 78, I believe. No, 79, fall of 79. And London Calling came out in December of 79 in the UK. And then, of course, I think in January 1980, that's why it's considered a 1980s release in America and a 70s release in England. But yeah, Teenage Kicks, the Undertones. This is on their own Good Vibrations records, or at least the initial release. Very proud to have that in my collection. I think about this and the Ramones. I don't have any Ramones selected here, but of course I could choose about 45 Ramones tracks. Would have the same theme of just playing it really, really loud. But just to show you how unbelievably immature I was in university days, my roommate Richard and I would put on, Undertones and Sex Pistols and the Ramones and the Dictators and things like that. And I remember one time we poured water all over our kitchen floor and just jumped around, slid around the kitchen. And by the time it was all over, much of the kitchen furniture was all smashed. You just call that, hormonal boys with their angst and anger. So sometimes the first time you hear a band stick so strongly in your mind, and this is one of those. First time I ever heard this band and dropped the needle on this first track on side one was revelatory. I know that I use that word maybe too often, but it would be Pixies, Surfer Rosa, and of course the track is Bone Machine. And what's so beautiful about it is the build-up, the bass of Kim Deal, and then exploding into You Got a Little Bone Machine, and then the scream from Black Francis is just one of the best screams. And I have to reiterate, screaming and music and volume, those are a great combination when everybody's out of the house. So yeah, I have a friend whose wife, we always laugh about this. She's not a Pixies fan, not in the slightest. And we joke that she can hear the Pixies from 3 blocks down out of a transistor radio, and it's like, is that the Pixies? She doesn't talk anything like that, but her disdain for the Pixies, and the moment she hears anything Pixies, she's not happy. So, gotta wait till they're out of the house. This one, the Sex Pistols. So again, another memory for me in first year university when Anarchy in the UK and God Save the Queen came out. My one of my pals, we were taking geography, and we were in the section of the first year geography course where we were doing things like tornadoes and hurricanes and earthquakes and various kinds of geomorphology stuff. And we loved that stuff. Anything that involved destruction was very exciting. And I say that again, recognizing my incredible immaturity and youthfulness. But and then we heard the Sex Pistols when everything really changed. And I actually don't have Never Mind the Bollocks, but this is a bootleg on the famous Corny Phone label. And this is essentially, I guess, studio outtakes or from the Sex Pistols when they were in the studio. It's not very good production, but any Sex Pistols song, actually not on this, but the one that I think I would still play at top volume would be Bodies. I love that song. I love the break in it when it just stops and then it's F this and F that, F around right? This next one is not a rockin' punkin' sounding record that needs to be played super loud. I do like to play this one quite loud, but it isn't that kind of sort of cacophony that can scare loved ones and animals. And this one is Pat Metheny, Secret Story. I actually just learned how this really rubbed my wife the wrong way when I recently played it and played it at a decent volume. And the track is the lead-off track, Above the Treetops. And it's so interesting when there's something that you love, absolutely love, and your partner finds like it's nails scratching on a chalkboard. And this is that. Not all Pat Metheny, but just this particular track. And what makes this one unique, first of all, Charlie Hayden plays bass on this, which is awesome. But there is a backup vocals by a choir, which is the members of the Pinpo Orchestra of the Royal Ballet and the choir of the Cambodian Royal Palace. And those are the voices. Very nasally. I find it just spectacularly beautiful and kind of otherworldly. It's different, but it reminds me, and I think some people would respond also in a negative way, which is the Les Voix de Bulgarie, which is the Bulgarian voices and the women who sang with these really just otherworldly voices, but not exactly what you would call sort of typical vocal harmonizing. They actually recorded, or at least the trio from that overall choir with Kate Bush on one of her records as well. I forget which one. But it reminds me of that, Les Voix de Bulgarie. This Cambodian choir, and the song is Above the Treetops, the opening track off of Pat Metheny's Secret Story. I liked it so much that I started looking through world music to see if I could find any Cambodian choir music. But I think what makes this, and I couldn't find any, what makes this really, really good is that is the melding of this choir with Pat Metheny's music, and it goes together so well. And wonderful, unique music comes from that, borrowing from different styles and bringing them together and going, oh my goodness, this really works well. So Above the Treetops, gotta wait till my love is out of the house before I play that one, loud or quiet. Amazingly, I've mentioned this before, but I really was only aware of Neil Young as kind of a radio hit guy with, Heart of Gold and things like that. Before first year university, a guy down the hall from me was playing Like a Hurricane, and off of this American Stars and Bars. And that for me was just it. I just loved it. My roommate at the time had been a DJ in high school, Steve, and he had a fantastic sound system, and we would often play that song so loud, and it's so well produced and beautiful. And of course, the soaring guitar work that I think is on Blackie, I believe, the Les Paul that Neil's been playing forever, that one demands volume. Another factor in terms of making sure everyone's out of the house is if I'm going to be mumbling, singing, or shouting while the music is playing. And one such band that always seemed to bring this out in me, while there are a couple coming up, actually is R.E.M. And the first track, Harbor Coat. So again, this was I believe the second R.E.M. album. I don't know if this was Chronic Town was, I believe, the first, which was an EP. Anyways, forget the chronology of it. Harbor Coat, first song off of this. Just love that track. And there's a part where it just kind of goes up real high, but I just find myself kind of, I don't know what the lyrics are about or anything. Of course, R.E.M. famously, Michael Stipe, the vocals were very hard to decipher. And in most, if not almost all cases, until later in their career, they didn't put their lyrics on their liner notes. But Harbor Coat, can't stop. Like whenever I hear this, I'm always just, I won't, it'll scare the heck out of you, sing along to it, but I love singing along to that. And another one that I love singing along to, Alex Chilton. There's some live stuff of the Replacements. There's one great one in Paradiso, Club Paradiso in Amsterdam. And the crowd just kind of going nuts to Alex Chilton, and the lyrics to it are fantastic. And so it could be this. It could also be Nevermind. I opened up the shouting, just a waste of time, never mind. I don't know if I got the lyrics right, but that's how I think those lyrics go. Never bothered to check on lyrics.com. Love to shout and yell and jump around and scare the neighbors when I listen to that. Another one that's just still to this day, I put this on and it just sends, even just talking about putting this on, sends shivers down my spine. This is an EP, Echo and the Bunnymen, and the live version of Do It Clean. Just an absolutely cracker performance. So exciting. And the dynamics, the way they kind of bring it down, it's quiet. And McCullough's really good at that. And I see you here, I see you there, and then build, 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 I do it clean. Has to be played very, very loud. Of course, the one that I'm going to choose because I still play it all the time is Harmony in My Head. I actually did radio shows in university, and there was a time when almost everything I wanted to do would be, name a show after a Buzzcocks song. I love their titles and, of course, love their music. But Harmony in My Head, just, I can't not sing to that song. So everybody's got to be out of the house. And that's it. There's, so many others, Jesus and Mary Chain, as I said, the Ramones. But I'd like to know what are your favorite songs to play when you've noticed that everybody has left the house and you are going to play it loud. And I'm assuming it's not all punk and rough rock and roll, but it may be something that your partner doesn't like, or they just don't like it loud. What do you play when everybody's out? Carpe diem, MFs.